Good evening. It's that time of year again where pumpkins line the streets, monsters run amok, and A Nightmare Before Christmas is once again heralded as a classic by your teenage sister. I've been hard at work on a video for the season, but I wasn't able to quite finish it in time, so instead I'm substituting it for 2 videos of a much lower quality than I would normally try to put in. I recently indulged in an NES classic and decided that the first game I would play on the system was a long-loved classic of the horror genre, Castlevania. Castlevania is a game about the Belmont family struggles to end Dracula's centennial return, who's returning with the only goal in mind of taking over Transylvania. And after the first shitfest I went through with a couple of friends trying to end another monster's endless returns, I could use a bit of a monster mash. Castlevania was a game made for the NES out of the system having purely no horror genre games. Sure, the game isn't that spooky these days, all things considered, but it is a classic, and the game's main character even made it into the new Smash Bros. With his weeaboo cousin. Being an NES game is a fairly simple game. You move left and right using left and right on the D-pad, up and down stairs using up and down on the D-pad, you jump with A and attack with B. The sub-weapons are used by holding up and pressing B. There are 5 sub-weapons in the game in total. The dagger, which throws a dagger straight in front of you. The axe, which will throw an axe in an arc. The cross, which is thrown in a straight line and always comes back like a boomerang. The holy water, which will throw a bottle in front of you and it will stun enemies momentarily as well as doing a little bit of damage. And the stopwatch, which freezes time briefly, allowing for a couple free hits. Hearts in the game are used as a sort of ammunition for the sub-weapons. They can be found in candles along with sub-weapons, as well as walls, which is more likely to hold a big heart, pork chop, or a triple and or double shot power-up. With basics out of the way, you play as Simon Belmont, who is on a quest to vanquish Dracula, a vampire who is resurrected every 100 years to take control of Transylvania. He's planning to do this with his trusty family heirloom, the Vampire Killer. This game is one of many infamous hard games on the console. Sure, a lot of games on the NES were tough as nails, but fewer of them were actually quality. Konami hit gold with Castlevania and spawned a whole franchise featuring the Belmont family. This game has many problems, though, that may either be intentionally programmed or just completely overlooked errors, and I can't be sure which. First, the game has this weird mechanic that I've never seen in any other game. Jumping while standing still will nullify any chance you have of moving even slightly during that jump. Likewise, if you jump while moving, you will continue to move with no way of canceling or going back. If you want to jump in this game, you need to make sure you're ready for a committed relationship with the A button, because once you press it, you're locked in until your toesies are once again planted on the posies. In games like Super Mario, which define the platformer on the console, they let you do it, but for some bizarre reason, you can't here. I can forgive this, given how easy it is to make a mistake, and this mechanic ensures you are certain that jumping is definitely what you want to do. And in a game that's like Castlevania, that's important, because the game can get pretty friggin' tough. The game is very reliant on patterns and continuous respawns of certain enemies in some areas to make them more difficult. All of these aspects are usually meant to build up to an inevitable boss of the area, of which there are 6. There's a big old bat, Medusa, mummies, Frankenstein and Igor, the Grim Reaper, and to top it all off, the big man himself, Dracula. I'm not going to cover many of these other than Dracula, but just know that each of them has a certain item or strategy that makes them easier to beat, such as the axe and the bat, the stopwatch and Medusa, Dracula and the holy water, so on and so forth. Bosses like Frankenstein and Igor and the Grim Reaper have become infamous for their difficulty as well, with patterns that just seem a little more infuriating than they need to be. The bosses in terms of creativity are very generic, but hey, they're iconic in more ways than one, not just for the series and its roots, but also in books and movies. If I'm honest, all of the enemies are a little generic, but being generic isn't always a bad thing if the final product is an enjoyable experience. Speaking of unenjoyable experiences, Dracula is by far one of the hardest bosses in the game. Sure, I played this game 4 times through in the past month and still haven't been able to beat Frankenstein in less than 10 tries. Sure, the Grim Reaper's attack patterns is complete bullshit, always spawning that first scythe right on top of the character sprite, but Dracula is in a whole different ballpark. Dracula has 2 forms, Dracula and the Spirit of Dracula. Dracula's first form will frequently disappear and reappear somewhere else on the screen. He'll shoot 3 fireballs when he opens his cape, you'll jump, and you'll hit him in the head with your whip, rinse and repeat until he's dead. There really is no item I could find or keep long enough in my personal playthroughs to help with this process, so it's just an endurance test really. And his second form is much easier with holy water, which is conveniently always in the room. With the holy water, he'll freeze in place just briefly to get a couple hits in on him, avoid his jumps, and eventually defeat him. It's not the hardest boss in theory, but given you only have 4 hits and need to hit him around 20 or 30 times, Dracula is an example of a boss just being hard for the sake of being hard. All of this ends with a big joke directed at you, the one who played the game, for wasting your time. And that is Castlevania. It's a great game, a must-play, and given many of the other games in the system library being some absolute garbage, some mediocre at worst, and some being masterpieces, this is one that deserves the ranking it's held at. And that's more than I can say for another game on the system I've played ad nauseum. Have a nice night, and don't fall asleep, or you just might wake up in a nightmare. Hello, I just wanted to take a quick second here after the video to mention a few things. I mentioned multiple times that I did play this game, and I did play this game. I played it start to finish, recorded it all. Unfortunately, I lost the footage, and I just couldn't find the time to play through it again, so I just kind of went online and got one of the many videos featuring long play footage of this game from a user named XRavenXP. I did credit him in the video, however, it was not there the whole time, so maybe you missed it, but I'll link that video in the description along with his channel. I would recommend checking it out. He's got a few videos there that were worth watching. A lot of the music also came from Nostalgica, a user named Frederick Habelter, and the Smash Bros. Ultimate game, which I'm very excited for and was probably one of the leading causes that I wanted to do this video. With all that said in mind, I wanted to thank you for your patience. I am working on a new How Bad Could It Be? Have been for a few months now. Unfortunately, again, time scheduled, so it won't be too much longer on that video. I just gotta get footage and finish writing a script. I do have most of the script written, so it'll be here soon. With all that said, thank you, and have a nice day.